Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the farm. It's May the 8th, and we had a hard frost last night. It was 26 degrees when I got up this morning and got outside. I looked at I got a little weather station thing by the door. Looked at the thermometer. It was 26 degrees when I came out here. But you see, we still got frost going a couple hours later. So I got Dad over here this morning, and he's helping me frame up some walls inside of the mechanical barn back here. Over the past couple of weeks, we've had some concrete put in, so now I actually have a hard surface somewhere where I can work on things. It was all just dirt floors and stuff back here, so now that the concrete's in, I will have a nice, safe place that I'll be able to work on my machinery. I'll be able to get the stuff put up, keep it clean, keep it dry, and keep it performing the way it's supposed to. So it's pretty simple what we've decided to do. We've already got these 2x4s laid up over here, got a few of them installed down there. But the walls in here were framed like this with the 2x4s running horizontally. And we decided that, to be able to support cabinets and stuff, we didn't want to put all of that weight. We're going to mount plywood to it. We don't want to mount the plywood to it and then have all of this structure be what's carrying the weight of the cabinets and the walls and everything. So what we're doing is we're running these 2x4s vertically every 2 foot on center, so our sheets of plywood will fall perfect, dead center in the 2x4, and we can sheet them across here. And then that's going to provide extra structure. See Dad landed in place there. We can see how we got just a little bit here. We'll be able to nail this one and catch our next one that's going to go in place here. So that's what's going to give us better structure to be able to support the cabinets and a workbench and all of that, so it's not the actual structure of the barn and just those 1, 2, 3, 4 horizontal 2x4s that are carrying all of the weight. So we put our first piece of plywood in place. We made sure that we were good and plumb and square. See that there? We're level going vertically, to make sure that as we keep working our way across, if it was a little bit off, then the gap would have gotten worse, or the line would have gotten worse as we worked our way across the building. This building has been sitting here for about 25 or 30 years, so it is not quite perfectly plumb and square anymore. So we're making sure that what we are putting up is plumb and square. So I don't know if you can quite see, but up at the top here, come on light, there we go. We're flush up at the top. That top corner is right up against this pillar. But as we work our way down, the gap kind of increases to, I don't know, a little bit less than a quarter inch probably. But had that continued all the way across the wall here, it would have just kept getting worse and worse. There's a couple of different ways you could accomplish this. You could use a string line and snap a string line down it, or you could use a tape measure and measure with the tape measure. Find where this middle board is, but you also, I've got it marked here where the middle of this stud is, and I'm just going to take the level, go right on my mark, find level, right there, and give myself a pencil line, and that can tell me where to shoot on the board. Probably the biggest asset in all of the DIY stuff that we do around here. A dad that's an electrician. Bottom to me. So any of you other people out there that have done large-scale DIY type projects like this, or you own a piece of property And like me, you have a full-time job, so you don't get to spend all of your time working on the stuff that you want to work on. The order of operations don't always happen the way that they should. We put this electric panel out in here because I needed lights and electric back in this building way before we had the floor put in. You know, we're just getting to these walls today. So this went in at least 6 months ago because I needed the electric. So now to get this wall in, it's a little bit in the way. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna try to offset the feed coming up in here from the floor. This comes back from the main barn back by the house, out of that panel back to this sub panel. But we need to get an offset put in this pipe down here in this piece of conduit. So Dad just talked me through the principle of how it's supposed to work, and I'm gonna try it for the first time, and we'll see how I do.
Like you've done this before.
So we got our piece of plywood slipped in. It's not screwed up yet, but you can see we got the kinks put in it, down low and then up high, and that's what kicked our panel out, so we'll be able to flush mount it to the OSB out here. So now that we have all of our plywood sheeting up on the wall, we got all of the OSB put up, we're gonna start mocking up a workbench. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna stick build this out of 2x4s. I do have an old toolbox that we're going to end up slipping underneath it at some point. So we got the measurement from the toolbox to make sure that that is going to fit underneath. But now we're going to start stick building in a nice sturdy workbench back here. So as we're putting up this band board, the top is at 36 inches. That's a good working height for me. I'm not the tallest guy in the world. So the working height is going to be at about 36 inches. And we are double screwing with long deck screws through the 2x4, and we're making sure that we're getting into those studs that we put back that's behind this OSB sheeting. We're making sure we're getting into those studs, so we're going to have great structure, and it will carry the weight of the workbench and be really, really strong. So it'll be able to support things like a grinding wheel, a vise. I'll be able to beat on it, and it'll really be a good, sturdy, durable bench. So what we have done now is we cut these little temporary feet that we're going to put on, that we did put on this front band board here that's going to support the workbench out here on the front side. And what we've done, we already made the cut, but to show you what we did, is to get this angle here to soften this edge, because I will be pulling equipment in and out of here. To soften this edge, what we did is we put our board up here, and then we struck a line on the underside here, there and back here, which gave us our angle. And then I took it down to the chop saw, and we were able to find the lines on the chop saw, and now it fits in just perfect and gave us our angles. And we're going to mimic the same exact thing on the other side, so I went ahead and cut 2 of them. Now to give it some real structure, we're going to take the 2x4 foot off. First we're going to put a 4x4, and we're going to through bolt it through the double-plated 2x4s on the front, back into this 4x4, and we're going to through bolt through those, and then we'll be able to take that 2x4 temporary foot off, and we will have some really, really good structure holding up. There probably will be at least 4, maybe 5 posts going across the front side of this, because we're about 20 foot long, probably even a little bit more than that looking at it. So just to, like I keep saying, to make sure that everything's good and sturdy, we'll put the 4x4s down across it, and they said we're going to through bolt all of them with these carriage bolts just to make sure that everything is just rock solid. And just to keep beating a dead horse on how structurally sound we want this to be, now we're going to do tie across every 2 foot with another 2x4 all the way down the length of it. So here's a little pro tip for you. If you need to toe nail or toe screw something, you know, I want to take my screw and come in at an angle from the top right here. What you can do is come in straight, just get your screw started, and then you can give it a little bend. You're down in the wood already, bit in. So now it'll stay here. If you just try to come in at that angle, a lot of times it'll dance and it'll just walk right across the top of the surface of the wood. So if you come in straight, give it that little bend, then you can drive it right in. And make sure, like right here, since I'm going down in, it's gonna pull the board down as it screws in back here to the band board. So I'm gapping it up just a little bit. And as I'm tightening, I'm gonna watch. Whoop, twist it on me a little bit. Gap it up a little bit. And watch it pull it down flush. And when it hits flush, that's when I stop. Now that all 4 legs are in and we have all of our tie across going across from the front board to the back board, we're piecing in some pieces of OSB, and it doesn't matter that it has these holes in it. All these are going to act as is what the boards that we're going to screw to the top, that's going to be the actual workbench. We're going to use 2x4s and slat them going across it. So what this will do is keep any gunk and dirt and stuff from falling down into the cabinets and stuff and shelving that'll eventually be below here. So we're just marking a line just inside. You can see how we did it here. We're going just inside, so once we put our workbench on, there'll probably be a piece of trim or something that will go here on the face of it. Now that the OSB is installed on the work surface all the way across, we're going to start screwing down these 2x4s. And since this is the surface that you're going to see, we want to make sure that this is what looks good. So what we've done on the face here is we've made a mark using the square to get it nice and perfectly square with it, right where our supports from underneath are. So then we can transfer that line here to the top, and then we're going to measure. What are you doing them at, Dad? An inch? Measure these at 1 inch. We'll take a countersink, we'll put a countersink hole in it, and then all the way down, all of them will be exactly the same, and we'll have a nice straight line going back all of the boards as well. So it will look good too. Now, in case you didn't know, what the countersink does, there's our countersink, is it drills us a pilot hole, and then when your screw goes in, when it goes down in, it makes this little pocket right here that the head of your screw will recess in perfect. Now with these deck screws that I'm using, I could have just run them in and dimpled them because they would pull right through the wood and recess them in that way. But using the countersink, it's going to help me be able to keep it a lot more uniform going down the length of it. And like I said, you know, this is going to be the work surface. It's not like this is some display piece or something, but might as well, if we're taking all the time to build this right, we might as well take the time to make sure that it looks good too. So one last thing before I set the camera down and we get some work done again. We anchored it down here at the end, flush with the face here. And now what we're doing is we're going to take the square and go on the face of it, and we will pull the 2x4 out flush with the face. Because this is a 16-foot long 2x4, it is not going to be dead nuts straight all the way down. It's going to have some kind of a bow to it.
See how far off it is there.
So here, you can see this gap starting to creep out. Focus. You can see this gap starting to creep out here. That's where it wants to be. So we're going to pull it out to the square and then just work our way down and screw it heading down. With the front board all screwed in and square and true all the way across the face here, we did the same thing. We started down at this end, and as you can see coming down the board, we start to gap out down there towards the end. So we're taking the clamp, clamping it down to squeeze that gap shut, and then we're shooting our screws. We'll go down 2 feet to the next one, clamp it, shoot our screws to make sure that we are nice and tight all the way down. With a whole bunch of screws and a whole bunch of holes later, the whole work surface is laid in. We got as far with it as we're going to get today. We got the entire workbench surface put in, and then you can see we started to frame in down here at the bottom a little bit for what's going to be some shelves and stuff that's going to go underneath. Eventually some doors are going to go on the front of it. Dad and I started game planning a little idea on maybe doing some sliding doors out front here. If we do end up getting around to that, I'm sure that we'll shoot a little video about it. And you might be thinking, this is so overkill for a workbench. But as with all the other stuff that I've done here on the farm, I try to do it one and done. I'm not trying to do something that's temporary. I'm not trying to do something that I'm going to have to come back in 5 years and redo again. I'm putting my roots down here at the farm. This is going to be the last workbench I ever have to build back here. And this is like going to be my mechanical shop. So this building is where I keep my tractor. It's where Dad and I keep our Bobcat. So the sort of things that we're going to be working on back here and that I'll be working on back here, it's going to be heavy duty stuff. I need something that I'm going to be able to bang on, something I'm going to be able to attach a big vise to, that I'll be able to torque on stuff. So this really is what I needed back here. It is a little bit overkill, but I'm never ever going to have to build a workbench again, and it's going to fulfill my need. So it seems like a lot of my videos here lately, they're kind of DIY, they're kind of a vlog, a little bit in between, a bit of this, a bit of that. I don't know. Hopefully you enjoy them. If you did, consider hitting that thumbs up for me. If this seems like the kind of content you'd like to see more of, consider subscribing. But until next time, y'all, we'll see you. Dad, don't you know it's time to stop working and come feed us? All right, let's go get some dinner.